All right. Good morning. Thank you all for coming out here, giving us a little while to put together what's going on so we can give you a briefing. I want to introduce a few folks that I have here with me. I have John Scatta, who is a special agent in charge for the FBI here locally in Austin. And I have ATF Special Agent Alan Derrick, who's the resident agent in charge out of San Antonio, along with members of the Austin Police Department's executive team. We had an incident occur this morning in the 4800 block of Oldfort Hill Drive. Residents called in and reported that there had been some type of an explosion that had occurred in the residence. Again, this was reported at 6:44 in the morning, and they reported that there were 2 people that had been injured in this explosion. We immediately had police officers responding, along with the Austin Fire Department and Austin Travis County EMS services. Upon arrival, the police officers, the EMS technicians, and firefighters went to the residence, and what we found was an explosion had occurred inside the residence. There were 2 people that had been injured. One of those persons has died of their injuries. We believe this person to be a 17-year-old male. The other was an adult female who was transported to a local hospital with what we believe to be non-life-threatening injuries. What we understand at this point is that early this morning, one of the residents went out front and there was a package on the front doorstep. They brought that package inside the residence, and as they opened that package, both victims were in the kitchen and the package exploded, causing the injuries that resulted in the young man's death and the injuries to the adult female. This incident is being investigated right now by the Austin Police Department's Homicide Division as a homicide. What you see behind us is a very strong representation from both the FBI along with the ATF. We have the United States Postal Service out here with us again on this investigation, given that this was a package that was on the doorstep. What we can tell you right now is the United States Postal Service has reviewed their records, and that we do not believe that this was at all a delivery that came through the Postal Service. And we're checking with our other package delivery services as well, but the initial indication from them is that this was not a package that was delivered by any mail service. So it was placed on the front doorstep. The incident is very similar to the incident that occurred in Austin back on March 2nd. And if you'll remember, that incident also occurred in the morning hours when the victim in that case went out front and found a package on their front steps that exploded, causing that individual's death. That case was being investigated as a suspicious death. It is now being reclassified and is now a homicide investigation as well. We are looking at these incidents as being related based on similarities that we have seen in the initial evidence that we have on hand here today compared to what we found on the scene of that explosion that took place a week back. We are looking at anything that might tie these 2 together, but again, what we've seen on the initial review of this scene, and we're very early on in the investigation, there are similarities that we cannot rule out that these 2 incidents are in fact related. So with that, I want to put out some safety messages. First of all, we want the community to be aware that this has happened, and obviously there is the possibility that these are related. So if you find any suspicious packages on your front porch at your residence, do not handle them, but instead call 911 and let us come out and take a look at those packages and ensure that they are safe. Again, if you've received a package that you were not expecting, that is not from someone that you expected to receive a package from, or for some reason gives you cause for concern, then call 911 until we've gotten to the bottom of this and cleared these cases. Again, we believe that the possibility that they are related exists, and that's what you see behind us is a very concerted effort between all of the agencies you see represented here today, because we are not going to tolerate this in Austin, and you have seen every stop will be pulled out, and the federal agencies have all jumped in with us to lend us a hand and to bring this to as quick of a resolution as possible. We've got the FBI's evidence recovery team is en route. along with the ATF's National Response Team. There will be a very large post-blast investigation that will take place at this residence. Through this investigation, we will gather all the evidence, collect the evidence, and get it into a lab so that it can be analyzed, so that we can again have this case ready for prosecution once we find the individual or individuals that are responsible for this. So we again are in the early stages of this investigation, and as I've said, we do see similarities and believe that these cases are linked at this time. However, we don't know what the motive behind these may be. We do know that both of the homes that were the recipients of these packages belonged to African Americans, so we cannot rule out that hate crime is at the core of this, but we're not saying that that's the cause as well. We're just acknowledging and we're looking at any possible motivations that would link these two cases together so that we can put this case together, understanding the victimology and who might these individuals have known and had in common. So that's the stage of the investigation where we're at now. And again, we are in the early phases. We will be out here most of the day collecting evidence. As you can imagine, with an explosion such as this, the damage is significant and there's a lot of evidence that needs to be collected. So right now, this investigation is being conducted as a joint operation between the Austin Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the ATF, all working collaboratively along with our other federal partners to bring this case to a quick resolution. So I'll open it up for questions here in a moment, but again, at this point, there's not a lot more than we can put out based on the early stages of the investigation where we are.
What similarities can you tell us you find about the packages at this time?
So we're not going to go into the specifics of that other than to say that the initial evidence and the initial description that we have received are similar in both cases, so that's what we're looking at, but we're not going to go into the specifics of what those similarities are.
Have y'all identified any surveillance video from any of the surrounding neighborhood homes?
We're doing a canvass of the neighborhood right now. We are looking at all of the residences that may have external video, and that is ongoing, so that will be part of the investigation.
Since the March 2nd explosion, Chief, is there anything that investigators have been able to identify about what type of explosive device this was?
So we do know what the explosive device was. We're not going to put that out now to protect the integrity of the investigation, but based on the expertise that comes to this investigation through not only our bomb squad, but through our federal partners with the FBI and the ATF, we've been able to piece together what we believe the construction of that first IED was, and that's what will take place again here today, is reconstructing what happened at this residence.
So you also know what the first explosive device was in the first incident, but also not telling us to protect the integrity of the investigation.
Correct.
You can say this is a threat to the public?
I want the public to be aware and to be cautious because, again, we have two cases that are very similar, that have both resulted in a loss of life, and until we find who committed this act and take them into custody, then yes, it is appropriate for residents to be concerned if you receive a package you were not expecting, or if it's a package that's not marked appropriately, if it's not from someone that you know and you were not expecting, then it's better to be safe and give us a call and let us come out and take a look at it.
Now, at the last press conference for the first incident, Assistant Chief Chacon said that terrorism they did not believe was the motive in that incident. Is that the same belief for the second incident?
You know, there's no immediate indication from what we have on the scene, but again, we're early on in this. The fact that we believe there is a possibility that they are related, that's what we will look at now. Is there any specific ideology behind these offenses, or any type, as I mentioned, a possible hate crime or anything? We're not saying that there is, but at this point we're looking at any possible avenue in these two cases.
Is it safe to say that these packages are being left overnight, and when people wake up in the morning, they're there in the early hours of the morning?
That's what we believe early on, is that these packages are being delivered during the nighttime hours, and when the resident comes out front, they're finding them on the doorstep. So again, if you find yourself in that circumstance where you come out in the morning and you find a package on your doorstep, on your driveway, somewhere on your property that you were not expecting, that would be appropriate to call us.
Was there a second package on the scene, and did y'all examine it?
We had an initial report that there was a second package, but that package has in fact been cleared, and it was not at all related to this. It was just another package that was inside this residence.
How much of the neighborhood was evacuated?
We did a large evacuation on each side of the house and across the street, again, early on, we were not certain whether or not that second package may also be an explosive device. So we had to clear out a good part of the neighborhood in an overabundance of caution to protect everyone's safety while we got the bomb squad in there to evaluate whether or not there was anything else that we needed to be concerned in the area of explosives.
We'll take one more.
Can you speak
Have
at
the
all to
packages
what
been
these
marked with
packages
like Amazon or anything like that?
Do they look like your classic?
So both of your questions are about the same. So these packages are not at this point anything specific as far as a carrier or a vendor. But again, what the message really is to the community is if you've received a package that has been left on your doorstep or left in your yard or left on your driveway that you were not expecting or that was not from someone you know, then give us a call. These are not coming through the United States Postal Service that we've determined at this point. And again, the U.S. Postal Service inspector is on scene here with us today and was on scene with us on the prior incident as well.
But they did have return addresses?
That's part of the ongoing investigation, the specifics of that. So that's what we're saying is if there's anything that looks out of place or suspicious, then let us know. Thank you.
Thank you.